This is the James Salazar Media Podcast. This is our 11th episode, so let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side. Salazar Media Podcast. I am your host, James Salazar. If you do not know, I am a transformational coach and speaker, a futurist, and an opera singer in Los Angeles. And you are listening to our 11th episode. Welcome. So we're 11 episodes in, and I'd like to thank the people who are listening. I appreciate it. If you can, tell a friend about it if you like it. If you can subscribe to my podcast, I would greatly appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at James Salazar MED. Also on Instagram at James Salazar Media. And on Facebook, James Salazar Media. And we will be coming with a YouTube channel. I will be making videos about mindsets and principles and value systems that complement an American life, and I'll get that to you forthwith. Also, if you're interested in that, if you need some life coaching or you want to be a part of a group coaching, go to my website and check out my services at jamessalazarmedia.com. Also, if you have any questions for me about anything I ever said, about my programs, about any of my social media links, contact me at jamessalazarmedia@gmail.com. So everything's James Salazar Media. I'm trying to be consistent with my branding. Thank you for your patience. Now, this might be a shorter podcast. Today I would like to talk about some politics, some futurism, and break down the fight of UFC 220. But I want to start off with a mindset. Not only a mindset, but a value system, a principle. So follow me here. You see, we all have various ideas what success is. And we all have different definitions of what success is. And I thought to myself, there needs to be a unifying definition of success. You see, for me to make $1 million this year through my podcast, that would be mega success for me. That would be great. Now, that would be terrible for a billionaire. That would be going in reverse. And a man who comes from Mexico, who works hard, he has like 3 or 4 jobs, they pay him like $5,000 a year each, and he's able to feed his family, he's able to put his kids through school and through college, and he's able to do that and complete that. Well, my friend, that's success. That is success for him. It may not be success for us. That was his wishes, that was his goals, and he completed it. And it dawned on me. The unifying definition for success is based on your ability to complete things. Success is your ability to complete things, to finish what you start, to be a finisher. That can only be something that you think, but it has to be a part of your value system. It has to be a part of your principles. Now, when something is a principle, well, we don't need to be convinced to defend and to meet or to keep up our principles, right? We don't. Whatever you are principled about, nobody can change you from. That's why we all have a few things we're principled about. But if you believe something, if you're taking on this belief and you can't follow through on it, it's a sure sign it's not principled. It's not in your value system. You don't value it. Therefore, you don't do it. So yes, if you do not value, and if it's not part of your principles, being a finisher, guess what? You're going to always not finish what you start. You're going to be jumping around to thing to thing. You're not going to keep the focus. You know, if you had a principle that you treat women well, no one can convince you to treat them bad. And if you had a principle that says, hey, finish what you start, that whatever you do, you finish it. If that's a principle, guess what? You're going to finish it. And I know you probably tried all these network marketing companies and they haven't worked for you. And you probably tried all these real estate gurus, internet gurus, self-help gurus, and none of it worked for you. Right? You tried them and you saw nothing come from it. And the big secret is, you want to know what the big secret about all those programs are? Let me tell you what the big secret about all those programs. They all work. In fact, the common denominator of them not working and you is you. Now, I think it's fair to say, if I was a betting man, and I am, I love going to Vegas and playing roulette and craps, the worst odds, whatever. But if I'm a betting man, I would say you fail those opportunities before they can fail you. You gave up. You didn't finish it. And don't worry, because so often you're given a lot of motivation without the ability to act upon it. And the ability to act upon it is based on foundations and fundamentals of what it means to be success for yourself and in this country. That's the reason. That's the reason so often you get excited over hearing somebody. And you have all the momentum, you think. And then you peter out. Because none of those things that you got excited about were a part of your value system. They weren't a part of your principles. And in fact, you probably hold principles that work in direct conflict to success. So in a sense, you were giving all this motivation without the inability to follow through on it. You weren't trained right. And that training comes from classical education. It came from the mindsets that were brought that created this country. When men and women came over from the sea and they ventured out into the West, there's a certain special mindset that does that. Sort of alpha male and alpha female who follows the alpha male and takes her kids in hostile territory to make a new life. Them not completing their task equaled death. Now, we have a lot of things that pull us every day. A lot of media, TV, movies, social media, the internet. Man, we're getting so much is out there to pull us from keeping us on the prize, keeping our eyes on the prize. There's so much that pulls us. And if you don't have a value system, a personal responsibility, and being a finisher, and a hard work ethic, and vision, and passion, all these things are just not just words. They're value systems and principles that you need to be a success in this country. To be a success. So, hey, if you want any more information about this, go to my website, JamesSalazarMedia.com. Check out my services, and we'll get started on your future right away. Right away. We'll get in deep into your mind, but we're going to start and plan out your future. And we're going to make an agreement together about what you think success is. And guess what? I'm going to make you accountable to it every single day. You're going to get some texts. You're going to get some calls. And guess what? Guess what we're going to talk about when you don't finish that week off strong? We're going to talk about why you didn't finish it. Why you didn't do what you were supposed to do. If that sounds like something you need, well, you know where to go. So speaking of people coming from different countries and becoming a success in the United States of America, right now with our political discourse, we are dealing with a DACA. And DACA are a group of people who were brought here by no fault of their own into the United States when they weren't born here, but they were brought here as young kids. And now they are law-abiding citizens in a sense of they don't commit crimes. And the Social Security number that they have, their mother and father put it on them. And it might be somebody else's that is dead or might have stole somebody else's identity. But I doubt it would be that long. I doubt people would not found out by now. So if they've been here 20, 30, 40 years, I'm pretty sure they would have had some kind of stoppage on the Social Security number. But they're law-abiding citizens. They're American by heart. And they just want to be legalized and they just want to contribute to the economy. And this is what we're dealing with. To make these people officially legal. Maybe not citizens, but legal in this country. Documented. Maybe not the documents they want, but documented. And on the other hand, you have the wall where people come in and people want that secured. People have want that secured since the Reagan administration. And for some reason, the people are not getting what they want. Obviously, there's been half a certain portion of the country that doesn't want it. But 3 times, the American people voted in a president that ran on the idea that they were going to fix the wall. And it wasn't given to the people. Well, that's wrong. This is a country for the people, by the people, of the people. Now, if for whatever reason the next administration and 90% of the people vote for this next person, he says, I'm going to take down the wall, then the wall should come down. Because that's what the people want. Right now, the people want the wall to finally go up, to protect our borders from terrorists and also to limit immigration. Now, just the thought of putting up a wall has, and the less than welcoming attitude from this administration, from people who came here illegally, have sent people back. They deported themselves. And so we're dealing with less people and immigration because, the United States is not so welcoming right now. But the American people want the wall. So the best and clear thing to do is give these people a 10-year, we'll make something special for them, 10-year residency with a chance to become a citizen. Now, here's the thing. People are afraid that people will come from over the wall who were DACA people themselves and who got caught, and they would just do a mass immigration back into the United States. People will try with lawyers, try to get a part of this group of people, and you will see. And the more welcoming the United States is, the more people want to be here because we are the greatest nation on this green earth. Don't fool yourself. 11 million people trying to come into this country, succeeding into coming to this country, that is the greatest marketing that any country could have. That people are pounding down our doors. They're not pounding down other people's doors. I digress. So I think we definitely should let these people be documented. I think we should give them 10 years and see if they're productive citizens, because here's the fear that once they come in and become citizens already, they have a right to bring people in. It's part of being a citizenship. You can bring your mother and father, you can bring your cousins, you can try to get them all legal status in the United States. It's part of the perks of being an American, being a citizen. And I don't feel we should take away that perk just because some people may not be here legally. But once these people become citizens, I don't think we should hinder that from them. So therefore, we shouldn't give it to them right away. We should have them be like a special kind of residency for 10 years. See if they're productive citizens. They're not breaking any laws. I mean, in laws like felonies that they made, not their parents. And if they're able to do that and be a law-abiding citizen, then yeah, grant them citizenship. If they're productive, if they are keeping with the same production that they are before. Definitely violent criminals, we should not keep them. We should use the fact that they were born from a different country and send them back to Mexico. I mean, if Mexico can send us their people, we can send them back for sure. We shouldn't feel bad about that. If you're a lawbreaker in the United States, if you commit violent crimes, especially violent crimes, build that wall. Bring these people in from DACA. Put them on a plan, whatever it is, and start punishing businesses that hire non-citizens. We don't need to mass deport people. There's no need for it. If there's no way for them to work, they will deport themselves. And let me tell you something. For the longest time, we have prevented the United States, by allowing people to come here, we have prevented revolution in Mexico. We have prevented change in Mexico. All they have to do, they take all their disgruntled citizens and they send them over to the United States, and they send money back to Mexico. Well, that's a good deal for Mexico. They don't have to change anything about themselves. They don't have to change that they are an economically oppressive state that oppresses their people, where they have to cross a border that is very dangerous and risk their lives just so them to eat, to feed their families. This is untenable, and it has been, and is immoral. You got to understand. And this is another reason why people get upset, because when you see people who came from a different country waving the Mexican flag, they are disrespecting both flags. They are disrespecting the flag of the country they came to, and they're disrespecting the flag of the country they came from. Because if they were truly patriots, they would stay in their country and make change. No, but they want to come over to our country, be in a comfortable situation, and ask United States to change. And often they want to have the changes to be like Mexico, which is very unintelligent. But if they were a patriot, you know, there are Mexicans who stand on the border, keeping people migrating to the United States. They want them to stay and make the changes. How can you build a movement to change if everybody's fleeing to America? You can't. You just can't. People need to stay and make the changes. Bring a revolution to Mexico. Take it from this hyper crony capitalist state, this hyper centrally run state where the state pays off, where the state moves to only the corporations who pay them the most. And one hand is washing the other, and everyone's corrupt. And is it corruption if it's part of their culture? Maybe it's part of the job. Maybe it's part of doing business. There is no doing business without paying somebody off. Paying a policeman, and policeman paying off a judge, or the politician paying off, you know, the federales. Everybody's paying each other off. So there's no justice for the people. You got to have justice for the people. And if you can always pay off somebody Justice is always at arm's length. They need to be like more us. You know, my personal opinion, you want to bring peace to this world, let everybody adopt the Constitution of the United States as their constitution. That the right and the power should go to the people and never to the government. That the government exists at the pleasure of the people and not reverse. That doesn't happen in Mexico. It's a hyper-crony capitalist state, centrally run capitalism, which doesn't work and needs to be free market capitalist where everybody has an opportunity to succeed. And when this happens, when we close the border even more, that's a lot of money we send back to Mexico. It's a significant part of their economy. And I don't want to make up some number, but it's like, a third. Mexico needs to adopt free market capitalism and not have this crony, centrally run capitalism. It needs to be a government for the people. That the government exists for the pleasure of the people and not reversed. They need to adopt how we do things. And our way is not perfect. But any way that gives people the power. See, all through Europe and all through Eastern Europe and all these African countries and all these Latin American countries, the people serve at the pleasure of the government. We are uniquely. Our government's formed where the government exists at the pleasure of the people and does what's best for the people. And the people in charge, a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. It's a great experiment that has created the most powerful nation on this earth, the most powerful economy on this earth, the most powerful military on this earth. Don't let anybody fool you that it's because of slavery and because of stealing. No. Countries have slaves, and countries have been stealing from each other for thousands of years. But it has never created what we've created. It is the good about us that has made us prosperous and strong. Don't have a crayon view of history. History's more nuanced than that. And to be someone who looks at the nuances of history, you got to read everything. Not just read something that fits in your bias. History's nuanced, just like you're nuanced. There's more to you than what people see on the surface. Of course, America has done underhanded things. We had slavery, right? And some of our policies have not been perfect. But no one helps other countries more than us. When a country's down, who comes to save the day? United States of America. When a country's being invaded, who comes to save the day? United States of America. Tons of money goes to all these poor states. More than we will ever do by taking. We send billions of dollars around the world to help less fortunate people. You know who should win the Nobel Peace Prize? The United States military. Because if there was no United States military, guess what? All those warlords, all those totalitarian states, those fascist states would be taking over countries right now. We are the stopgap. Don't fool yourself. And most often, when they're going to take those places, they're going to take it with mass murder. The American military, when it goes out, as it kills bad people, it helps good people. It feeds them. It builds infrastructure. It builds plumbing and irrigation. Better than any other organization on earth. I digress. So, hey, let's bring them in. Make them citizens with a little bit of qualification. Let's build that wall. Make everybody happy. Let's start telling these companies that they can't hire people that are not citizens, and the rest of the people will deport themselves. And guess what? Those people will make the changes in Mexico. And I can see in the future, in some great future, that revolution will happen in Mexico. Free market capitalism can happen in Mexico, and everybody will have a fighting chance in their economy. Nothing gets people out of poverty faster than capitalism. Even with all its problems, nothing gets people out of poverty faster. There's been no program better than any program on earth. The best program is capitalism. Don't fool yourself. Yeah, there's some inequality in capitalism. For sure. Still better than socialism. Still better than communism. Even with those bad points about it. Nothing is better than capitalism. And a couple of months from now, I'll be creating a new podcast called The New Capitalist, where I interview people who are opening businesses and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and how they did it. Tell them the steps, the pitfalls, their mindset, what gave them the idea, everything that it takes to be a capitalist in this hyper-capitalist society called the United States. I say this, and I believe this. Capitalism is the most moral, economical system we know. Not perfect, but the best. So let's go on to some futurism. You know, I read this in futurism.com. And I want to spark a discussion really quick. It says, one headline, Ford makes plans for automated police cars to take the law into their own hands. And basically, it will drive, it'll be driving around, and if it sees you breaking the law, it takes down your license plates and sends you a ticket in the mail. So this was interesting. It brought to my mind Boston Dynamics. Now, Boston Dynamics is a company that just got sold. I don't know who they got sold to, but they were creating some amazing robots. Robots that could do flips. They could walk like a normal human. Also, they created like this dog that if you kick it, it would adjust. It wouldn't fall down. It wouldn't tip over. It was amazing what they're doing, and they're on their way to keep on doing it. But it's been bought by somebody else, and I'm pretty sure they're still called Boston Dynamics. And I saw another picture where a robot gets a grape, slices with such precision that he peels the skin off of a grape, and then with precision sews back the skin of the grape back onto the grape, and has like these stitches, and it's amazing. I think this is the future of law enforcement robots. We're taking the human element out of it, you see, and these robots will not be scared, or they will not react in a way that for them to make any mistakes. It's going to be, and it's going to sort of deter robbers, you know, and violent criminals when they have to deal with a robot, when they can't, with their reactions, startle or rile up the police officer. You know, it's like what do you call it? RoboCop, right? Now, RoboCop was flawed because there was a human attached to it. But if we have robots that don't react to human behavior with violence, you see, this is what I always believe. I believe the police should have stopping power, killing power if they need to, until they got something that can completely stop the perpetrator, or without any harm to themselves, like a gun that just like shut off the energy to the brain, and they just fall immediately. You see, I don't like that the state can kill citizens arbitrarily. There should be due process, but sometimes in the very dangerous situation, police are forced to do that, and there's mistakes, and sometimes it's the only option. But it doesn't have to be the only option, because we're not going to treat a robot life as much as a human life. We're not going to treat a robot cop like a human cop. We'll probably have that robot cop go into dangerous situations, because we know, if they shoot off his arm, we can replace it very easily. If they damage it, we can fix it. So at any point, we can take away the power of the state to kill citizens. I think we should do that. The only way we should kill citizens is through court. And a jury of their peers says that this should happen. And a judge. So, yeah, I think the future is definitely going to be for policing. And racist accusations will be done with. We will definitely put them in harm's way. We'll have them deal with more sticky situations where a cop can make a mistake. I mean, I see they will have the same precision as the cop. Now, definitely, I'm not saying that every police officer should be done away with. Maybe their partner should always be a robot or something, which will be a great TV show, right? A robot and a regular cop, a beat cop, right? In dangerous situations, the robot handles it, and the beat cop sort of guides the robot. But with artificial intelligence, I think the robot will be able to make those decisions for himself and not make moral decisions, but make accurate decisions based on how can we subdue this person and save all lives involved. That should be, because we don't want them choosing what is right and what is wrong, because maybe after 100 arrests, it makes the conclusion that humans need to go. You never know. So, but I see the future of law enforcement being given to the robots and artificial intelligence, and maybe with a watch commander that's human, making sure they're all acting right and they're all obeying right. And yeah, we need to have a more accurate policing system. We must take away from the state the ability to kill people. Until then, until we have some kind of device that securely subdues the criminal, police will have to have stopping power. And sometimes stopping power means killing power. But as soon as possible, we should be training our technology to deal with the situation, to completely subdue criminals without killing them. And in saying that, I do believe that the police should have stopping power, but they shouldn't have killing power. But the citizen should have killing power. Because I think the citizen should always be stronger than the government. Should be always be deadlier than the government. Because a deadly government means mass murder. The citizen who can protect himself and defend himself, well, I think that's constitutional, personally. I digress. Or maybe I'm saying the right thing at the right time. SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch could be as soon as February 6th. Now, this is very important. This is the rocket that will end up going to Mars, so it's very important that it takes off and lands back like it does in sci-fi movies. You know, before, basically what's been happening, we send the rocket out into space. We sort of like detach the rocket's boosters, and they fall back to Earth, and we go around, and then we land on the Earth, usually with like a space shuttle with wheels, like an airplane. But that's not very efficient for going to Mars or for the moon. But being able to launch up and slowly launch down to touchdown, that's going to be the future of space travel. And we got to go to the moon first, and then we got to go to Mars, which will definitely happen in our lifetime. And we'll probably be able, we could, maybe when I am 90, and I'm 45 now, and when I'm 90, I'll be able to go take a trip to the moon, and maybe even to Mars, crossing our fingers. And I will go if I can afford it. Or it could be a penitentiary, and we throw all our evil criminals into the space station. That's a story. Here's something disturbing. Never before seen virus with weird DNA were just discovered in the ocean. Now, basically, viruses are usually two-tailed, the most strongest ones, and this one has no tail. And while most viruses prey on just one or two types of bacteria, the tailless kind looks to be able to infect dozens of different types, a variety of species, suggesting it plays an outside role in terms of regulating or killing bacterial life within the ocean. That could be a potential danger if they screw with it, because there are good bacteria, especially in our body, that we definitely need, especially in our gut, on our skin, that could leave us susceptible to just normal diseases on Earth. If we take away the bacteria that fights those, we could be in trouble. So I want to talk to you about something I heard on the radio on the Bill Handel show in Los Angeles on 640, and he was having a conversation with the tech guy, Larry Laporte, which I suggest you listen to both. They're very entertaining and informative. They were talking about two things. Number one, that is pretty much like Apple and Google. They're not innovators anymore, and people are leaving. They want to be a part of new innovating companies. They're pretty much sitting down on their laurels, and people are moving out because they're not innovating anymore. And the new innovation will always come from new companies, it seems like. And because like Apple was new, and then Microsoft was new before that, and Google was new, and Yahoo was new, and they're all innovators in their own time, but they end up being stagnant, not being able to adjust with the new technology and create new things. So, which I thought was interesting, but they were talking about how FedEx and UPS, they're pretty much are going to be done away with because the Uber model seems to succeed. And Uber drivers, in their own way, probably with another company, will be working with FedEx, and will be working with all these other delivery services, and all of everything will be coming to you. Your food, your groceries, your things you need at the store. Everything's going to be by local people using their own cars to deliver stuff. That model is going to work. It's going to kill all these businesses. I thought it was very interesting. I've been an Uber driver for 4 years. It's a great way to make income on the side when things are not going well. And when things are going well, I love talking to people. So I'm a people person, and especially as a life coach, I like talking to people. This is going to be, I was fearing for a while that they were going to just make automate it all. But people still love customer service. And I think people having that human touch and not having automated cars drop everything. Unless, people, they're able to carry all these boxes and somehow single out those boxes for individual without reading. And I don't know how they get it to the door correctly. Unless they're given one box to deliver, and they deliver that one box to one destination. I don't think there might be theft if you have like a couple boxes and the hatch just opens and it gets sent to you. Or maybe these little robots, and we're talking about way in the future now, little robots take the right packages, scans them, and like BB-8 in Star Wars, gives you each package, rolls back into the car, and then goes again. Then maybe everything can be automated. But until then, having humans for the next 10 years take the place of FedEx and UPS for local delivery, they might just have to settle in on just flying things over the country. So I thought it was interesting. So I saw UFC. Oh, we're ending futurism right now, just letting you know. I saw the UFC 220. It was pretty good. And I'm just going to talk about the last two fights. Daniel Cormier, in the beginning, in one of the press conferences says there are levels to these things. Implementing that this guy is not skilled enough yet. Can't just come in and be all exciting and knocking people out. When you get to his level, you have to be good, really good. And Daniel Cormier's words were prophetic. And though Volkan Ozdemir, his opponent, definitely showed some brilliance in the first minute of the first round, Daniel Cormier's experience and technique, he ended up at the end of that round getting the most significant strikes. And the second round, he takes him to the ground, and Volkan Ozdemir may have been good in the ground, but when you're on the ground with Daniel Cormier, one of the best wrestlers in MMA history, you're swimming with a shark, you know? But so he ends up submitting him, and congratulations to Daniel Cormier. But Joe Rogan interviewed him in the ring, and Daniel Cormier, he expressed how wonderful it is to get a win over his belt, but you could feel it. You could feel the shadow of John Bones Jones, and how heavy it weighs on him. I think he would want to retire, but he wants to fight John one more time, and fight John without a cloud over the fight, like the last fight was. I don't think he has a problem with someone beating him twice. I think he has a problem with someone beating him under sticky circumstances. So he wants one more chance, and if he loses, I think he can go off into the sunset and be happy. Till then, I think he's not going to be. And I don't think he's going to wait for 4 years, so it's a sad thing. But if he waits for 2 years, if he gets a 2-year punishment, John Bones Jones, I think Daniel Cormier can wait that long and maybe fight a couple people in the meantime. Probably have to fight Alexander Gustafsson, who was a bigger threat than he was last time, much improved. And maybe what we know now, what they said today, one of the fights, but it's happening a little bit too soon, I think. Not too soon it could happen later in the year, but we're looking in April. He's going to fight Stipe Miocic, the champion, who won his last fight the same night with Francis Ngannou. And let me talk about the Francis Ngannou fight first. We all knew Francis Ngannou was, his lungs were suspect and his ground ability was suspect. And Stipe pretty much showed him, exposed him. We know in the first round he had to weather the storm, and he did. There were some crazy punches coming in his way, and good heft movement saved his life. And being able to punch back, Francis Ngannou, though he did take the punches, it sort of took him off his game. And definitely he ended up gassing in the second round. Stipe kept on taking him down, but he couldn't do much to him because Francis is a big guy, but he put his weight upon him, kept on taxing his lungs. But there was one other thing that came up: Stipe's lungs. You see, I think Stipe could have won in the end of the second round and in the third round, but he gassed himself. And because he's gassed and he had really no more punches to do ground and pound on Francis, the fight was extended to 5 rounds, which if he was at lung capacity and if he was not gassed, he definitely could have ended that fight. That definitely could have happened if he was not gassed. But he was gassed, and we had to sit for 3 more rounds of him doing these very weak punches on Francis, but still keeping Francis on the ground. And Francis lungs started to gas up again, and I think it would have been one more round like that. I think Francis might have came back stronger in the 6th round, but we don't have 6 rounds, and so it's irrelevant. But you can see Francis was less gas than he was in the 3rd round because Stipe's inability to knock him out or beat him out or ground to pound him out. So after these fights, the natural conclusion was for people is that Daniel Cormier should fight Stipe, because for some reason, I don't know why Cain Velasquez is not in the conversation, and I'm surprised Daniel Cormier is gonna fight in one of his best friends. That should be his best friend fighting, And so it tells me that something happened to Cain that might put him out longer. I don't know. I'm surprised he's making this decision. Or maybe Cain says, I'm not ready yet. If you can take it, take it. And but I don't know what that does for Cain, because Cain gets a fight immediately, and then he has to fight Daniel Cormier, his training partner and one of his closest friends, in his comeback. So I don't know how that works, unless they're assuming Stipe is going to win no matter what. But never put Daniel Cormier out. So we'll see what happens. That's going to happen in April. So that's it. That's all I have to say for this week. I said it was going to be short, but it's just as long as every other podcast. So I'm sorry for that if you were waiting for it to end. Sorry. But yeah. It feels good to listen to somebody. You know what? Email me if you have any questions about anything I said, or if you have your own opinion, go right ahead. I will read it on the podcast. I have no problem with that. It doesn't have to be nice. Doesn't have to be doesn't have to be mean. Doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be riveting, and I'll read it. So until next week, same time, same place, same bad channel. I'm out. This is James Salazar wishing you a good day.